don't care if you've already drafted or if you draft some point in the next week or two, because if you follow the 10 tips in today's show, you are going to Hulk smash your entire fantasy football league. This can be a pretty simple game to play, however, it can be overcomplicated in a heartbeat. But like I said in the intro, if you can follow these 10 tips, the likelihood of you winning a fantasy football league is going to skyrocket. But the NFL season's right around the corner, so I need to throw another challenge out to you. I would love for you to try to come and take some of my personal money over on Underdog Fantasy. I have dropped links to multiple drafts that I am in right now on Underdog. All I need is for them to be filled. Either check the pinned comment or the description for those draft links. Now maybe you just said, crap, I don't have an account. Don't worry, it's not too late. Now is the time to sign up. Head over to Underdog Fantasy, sign up for a new account, use the referral code Headliners when you do so, and then make the minimum $10 deposit. If you do that, we're gonna match your deposit all the way up to $100. We're gonna give you a free draft guide here for 2023. Maybe you've already purchased one, we'll refund it. Maybe you've already drafted, I'll just PayPal you $20. But you're also gonna get an entry into a giveaway from something signed from my office and the chance to play along against us in these drafts that are live right now. But I'm really feeling like you guys are up for the challenge, so here's a little sneak peek behind the scenes. Right now, as a channel, currently, we have had 967 signups from Underdog so far this offseason. But I would really like to cross that 1,000 mark before the season starts. So if you sign up for that new account on Underdog Fantasy using the referral code Headliners and then make your minimum deposit, and if you do that between the dates of August 26th and August 27th, I'm gonna randomly select one of you and I'm gonna email you a $100 Visa gift card. But don't worry, I haven't forgotten about all of you who have been signing up throughout the off season either. If you have signed up with our promo code at any time this off season, you will be entered into that giveaway for those 2 cards as well. We'll randomly select those winners once we cross that 1,000 mark. Can we do it this weekend, Headliner Nation? But all right, let's take a look at these 10 tips to just help you freaking dominate here in 2023. Now, these are in no specific order. They're all equally as important. But the first one's going to be ignore the draft grades that you get from whatever site you drafted on. Those grades are absolutely meaningless and cause nothing but more stress before it's way too early to even have anything to stress about. Now, I'm not here to badmouth anyone, but let me give you a little bit of insight on these draft grades. The grades that you get from certain websites are based off of who they like alone on their website. But do you even know who's giving you those grades? Do you know that the people that are handing out those grades have a proven track record of success? The answer to both of those questions is no, you don't. So don't worry about them. All they really lead to is you making rash decisions that you really shouldn't, that end up hurting your team in the long run. Ignore draft grades. If you don't have the opportunity to speak one-on-one with somebody about your individual team, the analysis that you're going to get back is just, it's boring, it's vanilla, it's meaningless because they have no idea of your league settings, your roster setup. They don't know anything. So just don't put too much stock into those draft grades. All right, number 2, don't be quick to trade. But I totally get it. 2 of the best things, the most fun that you can have in fantasy football is draft day and then making trades. Trust me, I love to do it too. But too many people will overreact in the preseason and trade away pieces that they really should keep on their teams. I really look at it this way. If I did my research and I drafted the guys that I wanted, why do I want to trade anyone away? Now, sure, you're gonna miss out on some guys that you really want, but you're gonna overpay for them right now instead of maybe just waiting a few weeks into the season. Let's see what happens. Now, sure, we all have clueless league mates out there that just want to send stupid offers that you're gonna win half the time. Those ones I'll take, but I'm not about to blow up my team and trade away players that I drafted for a reason just because I want something to do before the season starts. But then, on to number 3. How about go through the free agent pool after your draft, and any undrafted players that you still like, add them to your watch list. Now, on some platforms, this means you add a little star next to their name, or you click on them and add them to a watch list that you can later pull up. But that is very important because these guys went undrafted because of some better options ahead of them. But you liked them for a reason. So follow them closely as the season starts. Follow your own team closely. Maybe there's an opportunity to make a switch with one of your late round picks. Now, obviously, you don't want to take the guy you drafted in the 6th round and drop him to the waiver wire in week 1 because of some dude that was way down the draft list. No, I'm talking about those guys that you selected really late in your draft. Guys that you really had to take a shot on. If they don't pan out early, go take a shot on somebody else that's performing well to start the season that you already had your eye on during the draft. Which will then take us to number 4. And this is where you go through your own team, but you gotta be brutally honest with yourself. You need to determine what your strengths and weaknesses are on your own roster. What is it you need? What is it you have too much of? You really need to identify these things before the season starts. So as trade offers come in, as people become available on the free agent wire, you already know where your team is set up to succeed and fail and what it is that you need to be looking for. And by doing that, it really takes me to tip number 5. And this is doing the exact same thing to all the other teams in your league. You have to go through and determine their strengths and weaknesses. This is going to help you down the line try to find the best trade partner. Maybe there's a team that has an additional tight end that maybe you could use. All right, well, what is it that they need? Then you can go back and look at your roster, maybe find a way to give them something they need in return for something you need. There's always going to be a team in every single league that has multiple running backs or wide receivers stashed on their bench. It happens all the time. You need to determine the team needs of those teams so that you can make some offers for some depth if needed, or maybe even somebody to fill in for an injury, a bye week replacement, whatever it may be. But then we go to tip number 6, and this is ignoring site projections for players. I hear too many times that I'm starting so-and-so because he's projected for more points than so-and-so. What are we doing? Those projections mean absolutely nothing, and by week's end, 90% of them were not even remotely close. The last time I checked, computers can't see the future any better than I can. And despite me playing this game for over 20 years, there is no way for me to tell you how many points a week a player is going to get. It's based off of opportunity, it's based off of matchup, it's based off of prior production. There is no way for somebody to put a set number on a player. But I get it. You want to see that little bar right below your name during your weekly matchup that says you have a better percent chance of winning. That doesn't mean anything. How many times have you had a really good percentage chance of winning and then lost? The best thing you can do on a weekly basis in fantasy football is start the best players in the best matchups and just go from there. All right, though, down to tip number 7 now. And this is going to be identifying players on your team that could really start a little bit slow. Fantasy football is very competitive and it can get emotional super quick. The last thing you want to do is trade away a player too early because you panic early in the season. Now, of course, we're not going to be able to know about every single player's slow start, but we do put a video out every single year, and we probably will within the next week or so, identifying a few of those stud players that could start a little bit slow. We mentioned that with Najee Harris last year. We told people, hey, he's going to start slow. He was injured all preseason. It's going to take him time to work himself back. And that's exactly what happened. But so many people give up on players too quickly. So if you can honestly look at your lineup and determine who a few of these guys may be, you're less likely to make a rash decision and make a quick trade, which is going to be tip number 8. Don't be too quick to make trades this year. We saw hundreds, maybe even thousands of comments last year after week 1 of the season about Austin Ekeler. Heck, maybe even the first couple weeks of the season. Same thing with Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry's washed. We knew he wasn't going to be any good. It's time for him. All that work is caught up to him. I can't believe I listened to you about Austin Ekeler. I can't believe I wasted my first round pick. And yet we end up with 2 guys who finished top 5 at the position and were great draft picks early on. I understand that everyone wants to go undefeated in fantasy football. I'm no different. I want the same exact thing. But you're going to have studs at time that just put up dud games. That is the game of football. Not everyone can score 20 plus fantasy points per game. If you start off a little slow, it's a long season. Don't trade away your best players for somebody's 6th, 7th, 8th round pick because they had a good week 1, because as the season progresses, The cream rises to the top and you've traded away arguably probably your best players, so don't be too quick to trade when the season starts. Which is really what tip number 9 was, is avoid the week 1 panic. So many people get so flustered so quick and make so many decisions so early. I just said so a lot of times in one sentence. But anyway, it can happen every year in fantasy football. Don't worry. If you lose the first week of the season, I will be the first one to tell you that you still have a chance of winning your fantasy football championship. Sure, if you hit week 7 and you're like 1-6, sorry, you probably didn't make it this year, but you have plenty of opportunities to make changes, trades, waiver wire pickups, whatever it may be throughout the span of the season to make up the difference from that one game. Don't get crazy emotional if you struggle week 1. A lot of big name players have a tendency to struggle in week 1. It happens every single year. We see it every single year. I wish it was the same guy so we knew what to expect, but it's just not. It's gonna be okay. Don't panic after 1 week of the season. And then lastly, this is probably the most honest tip I can give you. Trust your gut. Sure, you can do all the research you want. You can watch all the YouTube videos that you possibly can. You can read every article. You can look at rankings all over the place. But in the end, you need to trust your gut because it's your fantasy football team. You own this team, and the decisions that you make every single week are really yours, right? So if you feel strongly about a player where you really want to start somebody, even though he may be a sit somewhere else out in the universe, start the player that you want to start, because if you don't, and you end up sitting a player that you had a great feeling about, and that player ends up going off, once again, it just leads to negative emotions. This is a game meant to be fun and enjoyed and have a great time with a group of friends. Don't lose sight of that. Always trust your gut, do your research, find all the information you can, but then in the end, realize you're making the decision for your team. Somebody else isn't controlling it for you. Now, I don't think any of these tips are overly hard to do. Sure, some of them may be a little bit more time consuming. You may have to invest a little bit more time into doing some of these than maybe you've done in years past. But if you really want to better your chances at winning your fantasy football league, these are 10 tips to help you get there. If you enjoyed today's content, do me a favor, please hit the like button if you haven't already. Subscribe to the channel so we can help you do all your research all season long. And then don't be afraid to share some of the tips that you may have down below in the comment section. We're all a plethora of knowledge. I am not going to sit here on camera and tell you that I'm smarter than every other fantasy football player on earth. I have a passion for the game of football, but I'm always willing to learn myself. So leave those comments down below in the comment section, but I'm going to go ahead and get out of here for the day. Hopefully you have a great rest of your day, and then do your part, please, to make the world a better place.